Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Bengal Tiger Podcast. I'm Matthew Bruni, and joining me once again is Shay Dixon. Wearing brown today. Shay, is that
Yeah, but that's not a bad thing.
what does
I'm
that
just
mean?
rotating sweaters. It's a very fall day here in BR. It's raining, it's kind of cold. So no, this has way more to do with just the mood of the day, not the mood of the program.
Yes. My window's wide open. You can't even tell. It's still kind of dark outside and raining. So, yeah. LSU got the win on Saturday, as we all know. If y'all watched the reaction podcast, 52-35, good win for LSU. Good win for the program. To always to beat Florida. And now it is Georgia State week. It is obviously a big week in recruiting. It is a big week on the coaching carousel. A lot of things going on, Shay. So, of course, we have our Monday mailbag where we cover. I skimmed through it, and we have a lot. We have a lot to cover. So, I'm excited.
All right, let's get rocking. Oh, well, do we need to do any briefing to start? I would say a couple of things. One, Brian Kelly did come out and say he's making the push for Jayden Daniels to be the Heisman. He said that he doesn't kind of talk about individual. He's shied away. He said across his coaching career of pushing for individual awards, and he's had a lot of guys at Notre Dame certainly that were up for wide receiver or defensive player of the year, offensive lineman, whatever it might be, tight end. And he says he really hasn't ever been that guy to single someone out from the team. But I think his quote was something like, "It's my obligation at this point that I've been a head coach for 30 plus years. I've never seen anything like this." And right now, Jayden Daniels, we've got a story up on the Bengal Tiger. It's free to read for anyone who wants to check it out. But I gave my 5 reasons why Jayden should be the Heisman winner. And it's really just remarkable kind of what he's done, Matty B, when you look at the only player in college football to go over 4,000 yards right now. He's the only player ever in college football to go over 12,000 passing yards and 3,000 rushing yards. Obviously, got 5 years of football in him, but so, a lot of quarterbacks have had extended time. That's an unbelievable statistic. I could go on in what he leads the nation in right now: total offense, passing touchdowns, rushing touchdowns for a quarterback, yards per play. I think one of the craziest ones, Matty B, is that he averages over 10 yards a play. So he's averaging a first down every play, which is nuts to think about when he either completes a pass or runs it. So he's carrying the third best odds right now behind Bo Nix and Michael Penix at Washington and Bo Nix at Oregon. We'll see what the next 2 weeks do for that before the regular season ends. And then the other notable thing probably would be that John Emery suffered a torn ACL. He's out for the year, and I guess that's the end of his career. Fifth-year guy at LSU who has been through some hurdles but finishes with 1,300 all-purpose yards. He's got a natty ring. He went to a couple SEC championships, won one of them. Played well behind Ty Davis-Price when he was healthy and available. And then this year was one of the backups, and ultimately season ends against Florida. So well wishes to John Emery on his road to recovery.
For sure. Logan Diggs looks like they're evaluating him for this week. I wouldn't be. If it's questionable against Georgia State, I would assume that he's
no
maybe
need to
not
play
going
him.
to push it. The A&M game is all that matters right now, and that's what kind of this, for lack of a better term. A&M and the bowl game is what the season comes down to. Obviously, you lose the Alabama game. That was very important, and the Ole Miss games. But at this point, you win those 2 games, and you get to 10-3 on the year. That would be huge. So that's, I think,
Yeah,
huge.
the goal is another 10-win season. That's going to put you firmly in the top 15. Could crack the top 10 to end the season, but we'll see how it all shuffles out, and will likely be a top 10 team entering next year if they pull that off. So
Yeah.
all that is for the future. The mailbag is now. So, and some people were asking me how to how to submit questions to the mailbag. So if you're a member of the Bengal Tiger, it's only $1. And you get access to the entire On3 network. It's a steal. But every Monday, Maddie B will post around lunchtime a thread. It's open for a couple hours. Get your questions in and we answer them. We can't leave it open forever, or we would be doing a 12-hour stream here where we would answer every question under the sun. So
Yeah, we
every
left it
Monday around
open.
noon.
Yeah, I opened it today about 12:30. The last couple weeks have been around 12:30, right after Brian Kelly talks, and leave it open for an hour, hour and a half, and we get a ton. So, yeah, thank you to everybody who submits questions. But yeah, look for it around that time during the off season. It'll be kind of fluid. We'll probably give you a heads up whenever that happens, but that's how it goes during the season, at least.
All right. All of the housekeeping out of the way. Let's get it rocking. First person, F at Tiger, or Fat Tiger, I
Fat
guess it would
Tiger.
be, which is a creative way of doing it. Maybe a first time you asker here. I don't ever remember that name.
I've read his name before. I don't know if he's asked a question.
Okay. Yeah, I don't remember him in the mailbags. But he said, why is 1 and 2 still on the field on defense? He's going to be asking here about who? Omar
Omar
Speights
Speights and
and
Ovia Gofu.
Ovia Gofu. I guess some background here. Certainly with Ovia Gofu, his backup, Braden Swinson, is statistically Matty B outperforming him, and it's not close. Then I think the other question is, why isn't Whit Weeks on the field? There has been buzz that Whit Weeks, the true freshman linebacker, is kind of serving a little personal time off here after running into some sort of trouble, but not big time trouble. So that was at least the buzz around why he has not been playing at linebacker the past few games when he's at least normally getting some snaps, let alone chipping into the rotation. So I think we almost look, Brian Kelly and them have said they love Omar Speights. They trust him. He's a veteran, all these things. But I think here recently, there's another reason probably why Weeks isn't playing. And Brian Kelly hadn't said anything about it, but perhaps we see him out there against Georgia State and then A&M. But I do think the other question is an interesting one. Would you be starting Braden Swinson? Would you be playing him more than Ovia Gofu? Because Gofu started every game. Swinson is way, way more productive. I mean, just 28 tackles, 5.5 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, 5 pass breakups, 8 quarterback hurries. He forced 2 fumbles. And then a guy like a Gofu, fewer tackles, only 1 tackle for a loss, only 1 pass breakup. He did recover a fumble. He's forced a fumble. And then he has 3 quarterback hurries. So
Yeah.
he's not unproductive, but Swinson is more productive.
Yeah. Swinson's been much better this year. You don't know why it's taken so long and Swinson's gotten snaps even when Ogofu has been a starter and the go-to guy. But against Florida, I have the PFF grades up right now. PFF is hit or miss. It is what it is. It's just it's a tool. That's how I use it. But the drastic difference in PFF grades here in the Florida game kind of tell the tale here. Braden Swinson in 46 snaps had an 88 grade on defense, 90 pass rushing grade from PFF. OV in 36 snaps, 51 overall grade, and a 57 grade in pass rush. I mean, Braden
Well,
Swinson.
and you could go look at PFF, but you've sent me the snap counts each week. You make a good point. Ovi starts, but Braden plays more.
Yes. Yeah, especially in the recent weeks, Braden has become more of has gotten a lot more snaps. So they look to him to try to get pass rushes, to try to get pressures, and he's done a really good job. So, I assume he's coming back next year. That's something positive you can build with.
Yeah, and again, Ovi's a vet. He's been around. He's played for Brian Kelly at Notre Dame. They certainly had some faith in him, but it's clear that, especially when they get into passing situations, that they go with Braden, and he started to outsnap him. So you're right. That's good news for next year. Hunter Fournette, did they have enough dog in him this week, Matty B?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, they were fighting before the game, jawing multiple times. There were multiple scuffles during the game.
Yeah. Can I also add, though, it's very much apparent to me that Florida was looking to instigate all of this. Like this wasn't. I mean, LSU was for it, obviously, but Florida. Every time you looked up in the first quarter, Florida was instigating it to me.
I don't think these teams like each other
No.
much, and I hate that it takes this long to play this game because this happens every year. They're jawing at midfield before the game. They're fighting at some point during the game. They're taking shoes off and throwing them 40 yards down the field. These two teams don't like each other. We saw it throughout the whole game. They got into multiple tussles. LSU put out a video clip of the Josh Williams block where he put Derek Wingo on his back, number 15 for Florida. And I didn't notice it the first time. I noticed the block, but Josh Williams was talking smack to Wingo as he was trying to walk off the field. And then Jayden runs up in front of him. So, like, no one even celebrated Malik scoring. It was everyone just immediately went and talked trash to Wingo for getting put on his backside. So I thought this game had more energy than any game I've seen him play all year.
Yeah, they just need to play teams that are willing to fight them. Florida, I mean, you also get a Florida team that has nothing to lose. You know, it's a team that obviously saw its season go down the drain last week. So maybe a little frustration boiling over there. I think they don't like each other. I'm cool. I mean, Florida, when Jayden Daniels, Jayden Daniels got bumped on the Florida sideline a bit early in the game. If all that happens, I mean, yeah, you got to fight them at this point. My problem was when, if a left tackle gets beat, you want the left tackle to turn around and fight the defensive end. That was my initial question. Like, hey, we're just going to get a 15-yard penalty because you lost a rep. But yes, this was great to see.
And then he asked, should Heisman voters have to sing Sorry, Miss Jackson to JD5's mom if they don't give him the Heisman, seeing how our Twitter handle is Miss Jackson? Matty B, is he your Heisman front runner?
He's mine. It doesn't look. Bo Nix is the favorite in Vegas right now, and he put up 414 and 4 touchdowns last week against USC. I mean, USC is not a good defense. I don't
They're
think Florida's
terrible
good
defense.
Yeah, but I don't think Florida's a great defense either. If we're being fair and equal, Florida's not a great defense either. But I think in totality, obviously, Jayden Daniels has the numbers. It's not like Bo Nix his Oregon team is undefeated. I mean, they are a very good team, and they probably should win the Pac-12. But it's not like this is a Georgia quarterback or a Michigan quarterback putting up these type of numbers. I think Jayden Daniels should be the Heisman right now. I think Bo Nix will have a case, but I don't know. 11-1 Bo Nix season against 9-3 Jayden Daniels season. I mean, I'm taking Jayden Daniels.
I don't know where I had it. Someone had tweeted it at me, but the strength of schedules are area.
I've pointed that out. I've pointed that out throughout the season. It's like even halfway through the year when Jayden Daniels put him numbers and he wasn't in the Heisman conversation, I was like, they've played an incredible schedule.
That's when those 3,500 those 35-1 tickets were floating around.
Yes, exactly.
Should have grabbed you one. I did. No. So here's the strength of schedule. All of them have played 10 games. For instance, some teams played week 0 games. Like Caleb Williams has played 11 games, but he's not in the Heisman race. So your 3 leaders: Penix with Washington, Daniels with LSU, Oregon obviously with Bo Nix. Strength of schedule. These are the Sagarin SOS. LSU 7th, Washington 40th, Oregon 54th. So some real disparity there.
Can I also say I retweeted Parker Fleming at Stats of War on Twitter, does all the graphs and stuff that for CFB graphs, like EPA and stuff. Somebody asked him about Bo Nix, and I thought he worded it pretty well. For those who have watched Oregon this year and see how dominant their offensive line is, how much they control the game at the line of scrimmage, I think his average depth of target is pretty low. But anyways, he said about Bo Nix, I'll phrase it like this: Bo Nix is doing exactly what is asked of him in an extremely advantageous situation. Like, Jayden Daniels is single-handedly putting LSU on his back for games. Like, Bo Nix has the defense, has, in my opinion, probably the best offensive line in the country. I think Oregon's been just dominant up front. And I think that's more impressive to see what Jayden Daniels has done this year.
Yeah. I have I think he should win it. I could go on and on about why, but I would put Nix ahead of Penix. He would be.
I agree.
And Penix has no run threat either. I think that what Nix and Daniels do as dual threat quarterbacks makes them unique. Even they become that more important. They become a very big element to your running game, let alone as a passer. Like Penix doesn't run for anything.
Yeah, I agree. I don't have anything else to
add. That's it. Matty B's done. Coach K7, do you guys think that part of the fan frustration with the defense is the more read and react style? We've been an attacking and punishing D for so many years. This team doesn't have those human missiles that just blow up plays consistently. Matty B, you do a lot of the film work. I think that I believe what Brian Kelly said today is that you just don't have the depth and horses that you might normally be used to when you're talking about these great LSU defenses. Like, I agree with him. I think Harold Perkins is a heat-seeking missile. They don't have a lot of Harold Perkins all over the field.
Yeah, I agree. I'm quickly looking up the Kentucky when Matt House was the DC at Kentucky because those defenses were outrageous, like really, really good. I just don't think they have the players to. I mean, they're not winning the line of scrimmage. They're not like the linebackers. I mean, I think Pinn's been solid this year, but him and Spates aren't comfortable or aren't good enough right now to get in the backfield. I mean, those Kentucky teams had Josh Allen off the edge, 17 sacks. They had ridiculous TFL numbers. This team, like Harold Perkins, is not a true defensive end, and so they've played him at nickel, I think, out of almost necessity, and then it just hasn't really worked out. There's a lot. We've talked about this defense at length throughout the season, but I don't think they have anything near the personnel up front in the front seven to be punishing anybody on offense.
Yeah, I think it's just going to come down to, excuse me, developing guys and adding more talent and kind of just where you're at right now, which is exactly what Brian Kelly said. He said, bonus question about Whit Weeks. He did notice, he said, I saw you stressed out, but just on the sideline. Again,
He's been playing special teams.
Yeah, he just doesn't get in at linebacker right now. And so I think he would be getting in at linebacker if there weren't something going on. So I'm sure he'll be back soon. I've heard it was nothing too crazy at all from kind of the buzz around the boards. Go Tigers 5280. I said, first, I'm not asking you guys to call for House to be fired, but if it's happening, is there any benefit to keeping him on through the season? Does it help in recruiting? I'd rather just see a new aggressive DC and young faces at the very least for the bowl game. I think the tricky part is you probably just have an interim for the bowl game. Even if you hire a new DC, they're not going to come till after their season's over because they most likely are coaching on a team that is good, or you would not be hiring that person. So I would guess if their coaching changes, that interims are taking over those spots for bowl game prep.
Yeah,
and they have a lot of analysts on the staff who've been held DCs before,
Pete
let
Jenkins.
alone, Pete Jenkins, Jancic, Diaco. I mean, there's multiple guys who've been DCs, let alone other position coaches. So I would go with interim there. And if there's coaching changes, they sort of take the time to make the right hire. If Ole Miss loses to State, interim coach, you never know, he said, and LSU wins out with a Heisman winner, do we slide into a New Year's Six? I think that with the New Year's Six, they have to take the highest ranked CFB available team. I think that's what it comes like. You have to be, you're going to need to jump. You're going to have some chaos here.
Is that not Missouri too?
Missouri would be right now, yes.
Okay.
So
I honestly haven't. I know that we've had a couple of threads about like getting into New Year's Six bowl. It all just is very convoluted to me.
We're recording this on a Monday. Tuesday night, the playoff rankings come out. That's all that matters. Obviously, LSU's not in the playoffs, but if you're talking New Year's Six bowl and maybe chaos down the stretch, how high can they climb? They were 15 in the polls this past week. So
15 to 8 people. Yeah.
We'll see where they can climb up to on the college football playoff rankings, which is what matters. And yes, you would need some chaos. You need anyone in front of you to lose. Missouri, Ole Miss, I guess, realistically, teams like that.
Yeah.
And they would have to lose multiple games. Still Go Tigers 5280. Bonus time, he said. The argument in my house the last 2 weeks has been putting up a Christmas tree before Thanksgiving. I'm against it. What's your opinion? So, Matty B, you're a single man. Do you decorate the apartment in any sort of way for any season?
No.
Well, that's not festive.
No, it's wait. I'm not. You're the one who didn't put anything up for Halloween. So
that's not true. It was decked out. It was only though like the week of. I just didn't do it for a month. We had everything. We had everything. I just didn't do it yet at the point you were here.
So what's
it did get done. You should have seen it. It was spooky as hell over here. It was a PG-13 at minimum. But it's funny you said this. I did think about this yesterday because right now all of our fall stuff's out, but like the Halloween stuff's put away. And in my mind, it's like, okay, do we ride the fall stuff here through Thanksgiving? But we're not hosting Thanksgiving. So really
Mm.
fall stuff can come down whenever and Christmas can go up. So now I'm in a waiting game of, do I just go ahead and do it now and get Christmas rolling in mid-November, or do I have to wait till after Thanksgiving?
Yeah, I mean, I
I'm in
thought
the same spot he is. I thought about this yesterday.
I thought typically it's just people like doing it right after Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving's kind of early this year, right? The 23rd, 24th, something like that. So
But then it would need to be immediate because you have a lot of Christmas stuff usually, so you have to get it all up, and
yes.
then you're only have it up for a month. Less than that
Well,
maybe at that
no,
point.
you can ride it through the new year. Yeah.
Okay,
To like
well
January, what is it
well,
like?
we do
January.
keep our, tree up, and then just turn it into a Mardi Gras tree, so
Smart,
that's an easy solution.
smart.
Keep it rolling.
Smart.
But I don't know, man, that my answer. I'll let you know what I decide to do. Maybe I'll have Christmas up early.
Keep us updated.
Seawalk 54. What is the deal with fans leaving at halftime or before the fourth quarter in a one possession game? What's the solution to keep fans engaged? Is it surround sound LED light shows and like Tuscaloosa or something else? I certainly think the in-game experience gets people there and
Yeah.
then could keep them there 100%. I would not disagree with that take at all. Matty B, I guess some fans were leaving in the second half of a game that in the third quarter was back and forth. Florida was leading at one point in the third
Yeah.
quarter. Um, I don't know. It almost felt like by the time the fourth quarter hit, it was pretty evident like LSU was about to just mash them.
Mhm.
And people were like, okay, I'm going to beat traffic. Like,
Yeah, it was also a really long game. Not
it
to bail
was a
them
long
out.
game. Matty B
It wa
thought the game was over and it was in the third quarter.
Dude, that third quarter took at least an hour. That was a very long third quarter. But yeah, 4-hour game. I mean, I said it after the Alabama game. I mean, that experience is just a different level from what Tiger Stadium has. Tiger Stadium relies on the crowd in a way that Alabama's doesn't. And you can say that that's better. You can say that's more natural. You could say it's, more engaging because it's reliant on the fans. But ultimately, if you're a fan, I mean, if you're tired, if it's late, something like that, I don't know. Everybody has their different reasons. They leave and then the quality of the atmosphere goes down. It's a different environment. I think they're gonna have to do something like similar to what Alabama and a lot of teams do. Personally, though, this question's not for me because I thought it was an awesome environment for especially the first half. I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was pretty good in the third quarter. Fourth quarter, if you want to argue that it was, dying down, which it was, there were some people leaving, but I mean, it's still
It's
just
people trying
awesome.
to get home and beat traffic. That's
I
what
just
it
thought it was
is.
awesome from start to finish for me personally. But the upper deck of the across from the press box side, I don't know about above us, but across from the press box side, it was full, and a lot of that's Florida people. But man, that was packed the whole time almost.
Yeah, my guess here is when it becomes evident LSU's winning or losing, they just beat traffic.
I mean,
Um,
if look, when I covered North Texas, it was like, oh, why are there people in the stands? Then I thought I'd come to LSU and that wouldn't be a question. And now it's the same thing. It's like, why aren't there people in the stands? I guess that's just how it is for every
the stadiums
school.
are too big. These 110,000 seat stadiums are too big. If LSU had a 65,000 seat stadium, that thing would be rocking every weekend and nobody would leave. But it's not the case.
I mean, they filled it up. They filled the first half.
Yeah,
I,
I
I
mean you can
tweeted or I said it.
you can fill it up, but it's that's the thing that everyone's fighting right now. That's why they're doing all these light shows and you've got to get people back because if not, now you can watch every game in the world on TV
Yeah,
and you can chill at your house and not fight traffic and not pay for tickets and not do all that. So yes, you have to up the in-game experience and you have to win. People want to see a winner. They want to go out
yeah,
and watch good football.
yeah. And all I'm saying is that first half against Florida was the second loudest I've heard it in my 3 years at LSU. Alabama being first. That first half was incredibly loud. My head started hurting.
Who is misled alarm 92? Not who is that? Here is I know who he is from the board, not in real life. Who is better, JD or Joe Burrow?
That's a
Joe
whole
Burrow's
can
better.
of worms. You taking Joe?
I
You
think.
taking Joe?
Well, I mean, I don't know I mean, is this like college versus
It has to
college?
be
They're
has to
totally
be
different.
college, right? Because overall, Joe Burrow is a better NFL prospect, a better player, like a better pass. Like, yeah, NFL wise, it's Joe Burrow.
Um, I I think this would, yeah. I mean, I think Joe Burrow is one of the best players in the NFL right now. I'm not sure Jayden will be
Yeah.
that. I do think Jayden. I've always laughed at that. People would be like, Jayden will never make a roster, and then it turned into, well, he would never actually, make a 53 man and get carried all season. Then it turned into, well, he'd never actually start. Like Tommy DeVito and these dudes are starting. Y'all see who starts in the NFL? Like, no, you need to shift it to what kind of career he will have, because this guy's about to be a first or second round pick, maybe first.
Yeah.
And you're seeing it now. Bryce Young, Ritter got out there, Stroud, you name it. If you Kenny Pickett, you're these new quarterbacks in the league, they draft you, you're going in. Like, that's time to play. Let's see what you can do for the team. I think that in those terms, I would Jayden Daniels is, well, he's a much more elusive runner than Joe Burrow is. Joe Burrow is a better passer. They put the team on the back and carry them. That's what they both can do in college. In the NFL, I think that Jayden Daniels is Deshaun Watson. And if you want to throw Lamar Jackson in there, I think that at this stage, he's a better passer than Lamar. I mean, you said that many times before. It's true. Now, Lamar is incredible. I'm not trying to say that Jayden's going to be that in the NFL, but I would say if you're wondering what Jayden is going to be in comparison to Burrow, you can watch Burrow on Sundays now. I would say Jayden's more of a Deshaun Watson with the little bit of the legs of a Lamar.
I agree. Who's better, I think, comes down to their college football ability. I mean, NFL wise, I'm taking Joe Burrow. I don't think Jayden Daniels will have that career. But I think in college, it's actually a really interesting question when you get down to those two. I think it's a fascinating discussion
I don't think you can lose. You can't lose.
Yeah, you can't lose, first of all. But I mean, both were just so incredible, and they're going to have similar statistical offenses, similar talent at receiver, offensive line, overall running back. I mean, Joe, like if you're splitting hairs, I guess Joe Burrow a little bit, in my opinion, but Jayden Daniels' legs is just, it's a game changer. It's an absolute game changer.
Statistically, the best dual threat quarterback in the history of college football. That's 5 years of really, really, really consistently good dual threat quarterback play. So
it's crazy.
Hey, it's been fun to watch both. A lot of years of bad quarterback play.
Hey,
and see these two.
No, well, I was gonna say if he wins the Heisman, people want the Joe Burrow statue. We got a Jayden Daniels statue too.
Yeah, they just give them both to him.
That'll piss some people off. People don't like statues.
Jaden and Nuss were hitting the Heisman this weekend. They were hitting the dance. See that?
Yes, I did. I was love it.
It went viral. Capital City Tiger, thoughts on how Swinson and Toviano looked against UF? We talked about Swinson already. We've thought he's been excellent really for a while now. But I told you after the game, I thought Toviano played pretty well. He was second on the team in tackles. He picked up that fumble. There was no point where Florida guys were just like running wide open. It was like, how'd that happen? And it was like, oh, Toviano didn't know his assignment or got burnt. Like none of that ever happened.
Yeah. I thought he was fine. I thought Sage got beat on that one route, on that 1 3rd down, but overall, I thought him and Sage kind of just played to what they do well. And I don't think Florida was not an offense that was looking to exploit them deep. And I said that multiple times throughout the week. It's like Florida very much is looking for underneath stuff. Graham Mertz's high completion percentage. That's good because it didn't really challenge the corners in terms of vertical routes, but it was challenging for them in a tackling perspective. And, Brian Kelly after the game said, we still expect those young guys to be better tacklers. Like that, we're not going to let up on that. They need to tackle better, all that stuff. So overall, I thought they played fine. Tackling is going to be big for the likes of Ryan Yates and Jordan Allen and Javian Toviano and all these young guys, all these young DBs. So that way, what happened this year is not a consistent, shortcoming of this defense.
And Ricky Pearsall eats up a lot of guys. So White Boy, you see after the game, Jayden Daniels and White Boy Rick Part 2 were out there doing their old school dap it up handshake. Imagine the Arizona State days where Daniels had him, and then he had Pearsall, he had Brandon Ayuk at one time. And now he gets Malik and Brian Thomas. Daniels has been rolling around with some future NFL studs.
He's put up numbers. He put up numbers when he was at Arizona State. Don't forget, guys. It was last year was arguably Jayden Daniels' worst year of his career. Like Like he was a baller at Arizona State too.
So yeah, and Ricky Pearsall had a good game. He's had a good year for Florida, really. But I'm curious now that I say that too. What his Arizona State stats looked like for those years, because he's from Arizona. He was a big time player coming out of high school at Chandler, and ended up staying in state, going to ASU, and then, as many did in the Herm Edwards era, transferred out and landed with an SEC school. He had, gosh, he's been tearing it up this year. He's about to hit 1,000 yards. Let's see. Let's try 21. That would have been Jayden's last year. Oh, yeah, 500 yards that year, 44 catches, 4 touchdowns. So he was a guy that was getting in the mix with Jayden out there in Arizona back in the day at ASU. Yeah. He also, Capital City asked, do you think BK should send a message to fans and students to stay longer at games? It's embarrassing seeing the student section, the 100's only half full in the third quarter against a big rival. Again, the students have been really good, I thought, the past 2 years, like being at games and staying. Matty B's thought here is that third quarter drug out so long, and that by the end of it, it was like, okay, LSU's probably going to win, and people just started rolling out.
I mean, that's where I was. If I was a student, I would be like, it's still the third quarter here. What is happening?
And if BK sent an email to me about, or said some message, and I was a student, it was like, you need to come and stay the whole time, I wouldn't listen. I'd
be like, what?
Do whatever I want to do. Not on the team.
No.
Win. Look, if LSU was 10-0 right now and they were playing or 9-0 and they were playing Florida, it would have been packed the whole time. You're 7-3 and you're going to be clearly winning at the end. But look, shout out to everyone who stayed.
Like, literally, fans. I mean, not fans. I mean, people on our board, fans in general, have been frustrated with how the season's gone, right? So I think we should praise the fact that it was a sellout, the fact that it was full for the entire first half, and in my opinion, a majority of the third quarter, for a team that's not winning a championship, for a team that's not making the playoff, for a team that's not making the SEC title game. Like, if y'all are all saying it's a disappointing season, well, then why are we getting mad that it's not 102,000 for 4 quarters against Florida, a team who's not even going to make a bowl game?
Correct. And then he asked, JD5 may have a bigger impact on this team than Burrow did on 2019, which actually had a defense. Isn't it wild to even consider that? I'd say it's, like Burrow is that I mean, he's the number 1 pick. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL right now. Like, yeah, you put him on that team with all that talent, and they just crushed everyone, and that's what it was. But still, this team without Daniels, last year especially, now let alone this year, you're struggling to get to 500 a year ago. This year, I don't know what your record would be, but probably not 7-3. Be worse than that.
It's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting because how many close wins? The only close wins they ever were Missouri and I guess Florida. Am I missing one?
That's they blew out State and they
blew out everybody else.
Blew out Auburn.
So, I think Arkansas. Maybe. Oh, Arkansas. Yeah, I forgot about Arkansas. So yeah, maybe they lose a couple of them if Nuss is the quarterback. Even though I still thoroughly believe in Nuss, even though everybody seems to hate him now. So that's good. You have the whole career arc of Nuss right there, going like he's the future, and then he's not any good after 5 snaps against Alabama. So.
Where he didn't play poorly. But yes, it is crazy. It's just crazy to think, coming from LSU perspective, where you went through the Les Miles era and a lot of years of football where you never had an offense but had a defense, and now you've got 2 of the best defenses in offense in college football history rolling through in the span of 4 or 5 years. It's absolutely wild, and both spearheaded by really, really great quarterbacks. Cairo Tiger, Georgia State's a G5 team, but still a 6-win team. How many points can we see them put up on LSU? You're not feeling it, Matty B.
Probably taking the under again. This defense, Matt House, routinely of the past 2 years against G5 offenses, against bad P5 offenses, has completely shut them down. This is why I told y'all. Remember when I said take the under against what was it, Army, like under 13? Like, that was obvious. I mean, UAB last year, New Mexico last year, you go down the list, Mississippi State this year, Auburn this year. It's they don't typically let teams score more than like 14. So I'd be shocked if if Georgia State came in and scored more than 14. I think they probably score 6 or 7.
I could see them getting to double digits, but it won't be. They aren't putting 20 plus on LSU. Not happening. So I would expect it to be well under that. I also will say he asked about he goes, do you expect a competitive A&M game given it looks like they'll be out without Max Johnson that game? Obviously, Max used to be the quarterback at LSU. Hey, I will say that their third string quarterback who had excuse me, never started a game anywhere at I can't even remember where he came from, maybe like New Mexico State or somewhere like that. But Jalen Henderson went and had a really good game. Rushed the ball for 60 yards, scored twice, 11 for 19 passing for 150, had a couple of touchdowns, and they beat before firing Jimbo and before Arnett got fired. Both head coaches in this game got fired, but they win 51-10. So they'll be playing a little bit of a dual threat quarterback that game, even without Max Johnson. A&M's got talent. They've got that interim coach, kind of vibe, probably ready to get going. They all love Elijah Robinson. They'll be up for that game, but it's at LSU. You've got Jayden Daniels. I'm banking on the Tigers.
Yeah,
I think they win that one by double digits.
I don't know. I don't know, but I don't know what the spread's going to be, is what I should say. So, I don't know how big it's going to be. It's going to be like a 17.5 point spread. Then I would be kind of hesitant to say they cover that. But yeah, I think double digits is probably safe. It's just A&M. A&M games are weird. A&M games are weird, but they should win. Yes.
They should certainly win. And I think they do. Mason Cox, what does JD5 have to do to gain the national recognition he deserves? It feels like it's been said that the Heisman is a popularity contest. I think really, look, you can campaign. LSU's putting up billboards and campaign. And I saw some numbers shared by Cody Warstrom at LSU where Jayden was being talked about on social media across all the platforms way more than Michael Penix or Bo Nix was. So, I think the rhetoric of Jayden not getting the love isn't really true. I think everyone's actually talking about him because it's like, whoa, how's this dude third in the race? But he's got by far the best stats. And the answer is they've lost 3 games. These other 2 are in contention for a conference championship and a potential spot in the playoffs, and have 2 quarterbacks in Nix and Penix that are playing extremely well this season. Matty B, I'll say this though, because I put it in my story this morning, that 3 lost quarterbacks have won before. Most recently, it would be RG3 did it when he was at Baylor. Lamar Jackson did it when he was at Louisville. And the third from here recently was Tebow, who did it at Florida. So all those teams were 9-3. LSU's got a chance to finish 9-3. And then even in the 80s to the 2000s, so you had that 20-year stretch where a lot of guys with 3 losses won it. Bo Jackson did, Ricky Williams, Tim Brown when he was at Notre Dame, Marcus Allen, obviously at USC, all the way back to George Rogers at South Carolina in the early 80s. So the narrative that a 3-loss quarterback can't win, it's been disproven. It just hasn't happened. It's only happened 3 times in the past 20 years.
The problem is, and I just looked this up, so this is fresh, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I'm reading this right. Heisman voting deadline is December 4th.
Correct.
That is after
before championships.
Is it after or before the conference championship games?
They say that typically, I've seen articles and stuff that it might be that Sunday, but that 90% of voters have their votes in before that weekend.
Okay, because that's after. If I read this right, that's after the Pac-12 championship game, which in theory.
Nope. Yeah, perhaps if it's those 2 guys in a game versus Daniels who's not playing in a game, that maybe people do wait. And just see what happens in the game.
That's my concern, and I think that's why. That would make sense why Vegas has Nix as the favorite, because Oregon's supposed to win that game, right? It's supposed to be 4 or 5 point favorites. If Nix wins that game with 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks, and you're now going to the playoff at 12-1, then
on a day that Daniels doesn't play a football game.
And on a day Daniels doesn't play, that's going to be the difference.
I've seen stories before that a lot of people have their votes in before those games start.
Okay. So that's all. I don't know well enough how all that plays out, but that was my concern.
And look, Daniels has to finish strong these final 2 games. They have to win them both. So
He has to put up undeniable numbers. Like
yes,
he has to. It can't be close.
he's doing it right now.
Yes, he is right now. He needs 2 more games of this, and they need to let him play through at least 3/4 of Georgia State.
Mason Cox also said, "Do you think Jayden?" He said he hadn't seen him as a second rounder in many mocks. Do you think that changes? I think Jayden will be a first round pick, if not definitely second.
Yes. Oh yeah, for sure. I was looking at it. I was just looking at random sites. I just typed in mock draft and started clicking. 33rd team has him going 26th to the Seahawks, and Tankathon has him going 47th to the Raiders.
Okay.
I'm cool. There are so many teams in the NFL.
Teams love quarterbacks. They'll end up taking 5 or 6 of them in the first round. I mean, we see it every year.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, we'll see. I mean, Bo Nix, obviously, JJ McCarthy, I guess, Michael Penix, of course. Then you have the top 2, obviously May and Williams, but
yeah,
we'll see.
Bourbon and Cheerios, guys, longtime listener, first time caller. It's always great to have those. He's calling from Vegas today. Love the show. Thanks for taking my questions. He's only got 3 and he made time for us. He even structured it nicely. 1, 2, 3. He must not be too inebriated out in Vegas right now. This is actually very well written. 1, how insane is it for an offense to only have 1 third down play in an entire half? Matty B, speak on it. That was your stat you saw.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, at halftime, they were 1 of 5 on third downs, and I was like, that's the only thing keeping this game close. They end the game 2 of 6 on third downs, so 1 of 1, and it was just explosive plays. It was great first down offense. I mean, it was a clinic of how to run an offense when you have the amount of weapons LSU has and you have the quarterback that LSU has. So it is insane.
They had 6 possessions in the second half. They scored touchdowns on 5 of them, and on the 6th one, they kneeled out the game and the win. Yep. So it was an incredible second half of football on the offensive side. He said, at this point, does Baby Goat deserve 2 Heismans for this season? Matty B, we're trying to get him 1 right now. It sounds like 2.
Can he play defensive back? I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, how would Jayden, if you gave him a month to prepare, play DB? I think he can maybe play some defensive back for this team. Then he would get 2 to me. I would give him 2.
There you go. And last question, what is the earliest socially acceptable time to cut your lawn on the weekend?
9?
9.
Is that too early?
No, I'm going 8.
You can't mow your lawn at 8 o'clock. I am asleep at 8 o'clock on a
You are,
well,
but
actually,
the
that's
rest
not
of the
true.
world is up.
Okay, on Saturday I'm awake, but Sunday I might still be asleep. And if I hear you mowing the lawn at 8 a.m., I'm gonna throw something at you.
I'm going 8 a.m.
You're crazy.
And it gets light early now, so people are naturally up maybe a little earlier on the weekend. Okay, so maybe I'll give it a little after 8 on the weekend. On a weekday, I think that 8 you can be cutting grass.
Oh, weekday it doesn't matter. Yeah, weekday you can.
But he said
as
weekend.
long as you're not out there by like 5 or something.
Okay, I'll say I can bend on 9. I could wait till 9.
9 o'clock on Sunday.
That only, yeah.
Well, Saturday I don't care. I'm up anyways on Saturday. That's football.
I don't know. That's a tough one. This is like the Christmas before Thanksgiving. I don't know. But
I gave my answer. 9 o'clock either day.
My neighbors always have their yards cut, me as well, in the afternoons anyway, so I don't run into this issue. Northern Tiger, 29. Guys, 2-parter. Is Jayden ever going to be seen as the Heisman favorite, or will he sit 2 to 4 in the odds until the end, and then you have to hope for the upset?
You need Washington or Oregon to lose if that's going to be the case.
Okay, so you're saying coming down to that championship weekend or needing that to happen before?
Yeah. Oregon plays Arizona State, which will be a win, and then Oregon State in their last game, which we'll see. But yeah, ideally, I don't know what Washington's. Let me pull up Washington's schedule real quick. Washington.
There is no one anymore everyone's in plus money right now for reference. Bo Nix is +1 something, and Penix and Daniels are both +3 something.
I mean, Washington has Oregon State on the road and then Washington State at home last 2 games. I wouldn't be shocked at all if they dropped one of those games with how they've been playing. I mean, they just haven't been super impressive, obviously. But if they lose a game and then maybe they go beat Oregon in the conference title game, that would I think that would put Jayden Daniels first place in the Heisman race.
Get it? So you'd get a loss out of both guys, and then
Exactly.
maybe a little poor play, and we'll see what
Or yeah, or maybe
happens.
they just play badly. I don't know.
Yeah, or
But
maybe they play poorly. Which other players do you see winning awards or being named All-Conference, All-American? If so, who and what awards teams would you predict? I
that's a
think the one we're
lot.
all watching is Blitnikoff, right?
Yeah, I mean, Biletnikoff's won. Malik Neighbors, or I think Marvin Harrison probably wins it. Even if
Well,
Malik puts up,
Malik Neighbors has better numbers. Brian Thomas has almost better numbers. I don't know.
yeah,
I'll look. Marvin Harrison's an amazing player, but the fact that people are putting him in the Heisman race and then not even mentioning Malik Neighbors is wild to me.
I agree. I agree. The Biletnikoff is interesting, and look, the debate here is Marvin Harrison is on a bad offense, bad quarterback. He is kind of their offense. Travion Henderson's back, so he's been good, but Marvin Harrison kind of is the offense. Malik is looked at as a byproduct, I think, of Jayden in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Which is unfair, but that's kind of how I think it's perceived. Marvin Harrison is the offense. Malik is on the best offense.
Yep, I think it's a fair way to put it. And Marvin Harrison's a great player, but Malik certainly will be in that Biletnikoff race. They were on the Maxwell, or well, not Max. What is the O-line? Joe Moore Award.
Joe
So I
Moore.
guess we'd keep an eye on that one. There'd be nothing on defense, obviously.
I think Michigan or Oregon wins the offensive line award. Defensively, they're not going to have anything.
Yeah, defense, nothing. Offense, running back, no.
It would take too long to go through all conference, but I don't think Mason Taylor is going to be on it this year. We'll see how many offensive linemen get on it. I don't
Yeah,
think
Jaden, Malik,
Logan
and
Diggs
Brian will all be first or
Yeah.
second team all conference.
Yeah, I don't think Logan Diggs makes it. And yeah,
Malik will have a shot at All-American at receiver.
for sure. So
Jayden,
all
obviously. So
all right, we still got like 12 more shades. So we got
all right, speed race. J87 seems to me like Mason Smith was rounding back into form and getting healthy. Not sure if he logged any stats against Florida, but he seemed disruptive in the second half. Is it all but assured he returns next season? I don't think so. I don't think you can guarantee that. Like, I wouldn't be surprised. You could convince me of a world where Mekhi Wingo comes back and Mason Smith goes pro. Like, I wouldn't bank too much on what guys are doing on the field and maybe just what their outlook is on what they want to do next.
It depends how he tests. It depends how he tests. It depends how he moves. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he tested the waters. But ultimately, I can't see it. I can't see it right now. He has a year of not playing and then a year of being injured while he's playing. I can't see it.
I think he needs to come back for another year, but I'm not going to guarantee that.
Yeah.
So I will not be surprised if it goes the other way. But I don't know. I have no smoking gun there. It's just my gut telling me and just kind of talking around to people over the years on how things unfold.
Yeah.
Andy throws in, besides turkey, your favorite Thanksgiving dish. Matty B said he goes cranberry sauce. I've answered this before on the pod, maybe, but Emily makes a great thing like on Thanksgiving, Christmas, and mac and cheese homemade with 10 cheeses. So that's what I'm rocking with.
That sounds amazing. There's so many options. You're stuffing, mac and cheese. I feel like mac and cheese is like the consensus choice, right? I feel like that's the most popular one. So I would probably.
I think people like mashed potatoes or some sort of
potatoes
green.
A lot of people like stuffing. I mean, stuffing's great.
Yeah, stuffing would be a big answer.
Yeah, I don't know. Probably one of those. It depends. It depends who's making it. That's my answer. It depends.
Oh, all right.
If Emily's making it, I'm taking the mac and cheese right there with Shay.
Okay. All right. I'll have to get you some. Where are we at? Tiger King 53. Any chance BK keeps Matt House as DC next year? I guess there's always a chance, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a chance. I don't know if it's like probability wise, it's not above like 50% to me, but I think there's a world where it happens. If they look at this, like imagine if they look at this as a personnel issue, if him and BK are like, we can fix this personnel wise, like this was a bad fit for X, Y, and Z. Like I remember last podcast I talked about Omar Spates not fitting in. Like if they think like that type of stuff, if they think all right, this is how we're going to do things. They have a plan. Maybe they've thought about this already. I don't know, but I would say it is more likely that he's not the DC next year.
And then he said BK's mentioned lack of depth and experience. He talked about that again today as a reason why the defense has underperformed this year in several press conferences. The sentiment was echoed in a comment during the broadcast against UF when House was quoted as saying that he just doesn't have the personnel to run dime and nickel packages. I'm concerned, and then he's concerned basically that House is going to get the benefit of the doubt.
What I
I'll
said.
say this: BK is in every staff meeting, every film review, every defensive staff meeting at this point. And he's been a head coach 30 plus years, and he's got an excellent track record at hiring DCs and some of the most well-known guys out there who are now head coaches. I would say that he can determine whether, like, we'll see what the view is, because if Matt House is still here, that means that BK views it as not a Matt House issue.
I mean, first of all, I think he's right. He doesn't have the personnel to run dime or nickel packages. When Greg Brooks went down, but I mean, whenever he obviously left the team, I think that was in itself too much to overcome for this defense to run nickel or dime packages. They don't have DBs. They don't have safeties that are good. They don't have nickels that can play. I mean, JV and Toviano, if you want to slide him in, they're cool, but that's a freshman. They don't even have corners anymore. They don't have DBs. I don't know what, like, it clearly is a personnel thing to me. Now, again, you're debating, if you're Brian Kelly, how much is personnel, how much is coaching, and people like asking us that question, but we're not Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly is getting paid $10 million to make that decision. That's a hard one.
We'll know these answers soon, in a few weeks. Regular season will wrap up. They don't play for an SEC championship. You've got signing day, all those things happening. We'll figure out some answers.
Yeah.
Brian Kelly will bring them for us and deliver the news that from there. Tiger Bait 7272. Can we figure out what Jacobian Guillory had as a pregame meal and make sure he has it every time before a game now? He was a lot of fun to watch Saturday. He was one of the main ones trying to fight folks too before the game. So I would say his pregame meal was Gator. I mean, they got after him, and then he just kept that same energy all game.
Yeah, played 25 snaps, which is, about what we expect from him. Mason Smith played 63 snaps. Jordan Jefferson, 56.
He played great, I thought.
Yeah, I thought all of them were pretty effective against an offensive line in Florida that's very, kind of shaky. So yeah, good to see them. They're gonna have to play well against A&M in a couple weeks to win that game.
Outside of this is from LWT. Outside of Jayden, who are you most impressed with on the team? Who made the biggest jump for you? I almost feel naturally inclined to pick a receiver, and I think that that's a good thing to do here because they're so productive. But I'll go Brian Thomas. I think that his rise from last year to this year is exactly what it gave them a legit number 2 receiver.
Yeah, I think it's the answer is Brian Thomas. The improvement he's made, even from, like, I obviously in fall camp, like, I didn't see him. We didn't see. I remember talking to other people. It's like, hey, have we seen Brian Thomas really make many plays? And they're like, no, not really, no. And yeah, it's just he's been incredible this season. So that's credit to him. Who else has improved? I don't know. I don't know the answer. Charles Turner.
Yeah, but he was voted most improved last year. He
That's
can't get
true.
it twice.
That's true.
Double most improved.
Yeah. So.
Well, he did win SEC Offensive Lineman of the Week this week, so kudos to him.
I mean, Brian Thomas is the right answer. Most improved.
Joe Rowe asked, or excuse me, RHCP93 asked, do we expect Caleb Jackson to get more carries the next 2 weeks? And now is he number 2 behind Diggs? I think Josh Williams is going to be number 2 behind Diggs, especially given this is the end of Josh Williams's career, really, being a vet. The future is for Caleb Jackson, I think.
I agree.
Brian Kelly said today he's coming along step by step.
Yes. Georgia State game, I expect to see plenty of, Caleb Jackson in the second half if they take care of business, and then we kind of go from there.
Don't fumble the ball on kickoffs. That'll get Caleb Jackson more playing time. He did not get another touch after that play. And Georgia State, they'll play Noah Cain, who is a veteran, so they'll get some of these guys who are at the end of their career some run, not the guys who have a lot of career left, in my opinion. Joe Rowe, we all like to think a Heisman is a huge boom for the future of the school. Didn't seem like Joe Burrow's Heisman really boosted offensive recruiting in the couple of years after. Correct me if you're wrong on that. What sucked there for LSU is COVID hit. So they did all that in 2019. 3 months later, the world shuts down. You're not riding some major momentum. Like that was a bad break for LSU.
Yeah.
He says, if Jayden wins it, do you think it significantly boosts guys wanting to come here? Absolutely.
I mean,
100%.
2025 class alone. I mean, if
Yes,
you
correct.
know, if we're just talking about that class
And
with
it's
the
not just
offensive
Jayden, it's
potential.
the number one offense in college football from really like week 4 on. So for
Yeah.
2 months, people have been talking about this LSU team they don't have a defense, but boy, do they have the best offense in football. Like
Yeah.
recruits see that.
Literally, if LSU just uses it for the 2025 class alone and ends up, doing well in that class offensively, like they could potentially do, then it's worth it. It's all worth it. Like if that's the difference to somebody in theory, which I don't know if it is or isn't, I have no clue, but if that's the difference, then yeah, that's the difference. I mean, that's huge. Because and like you said, the world shut down 2 months later. Yeah, that year was crazy. So at that point, you're tackling very different obstacles because people couldn't even visit until what, summer 21.
Yeah. No, and
So
you were playing games in empty stadiums, and yeah,
mhm.
you weren't able to get out on the road and recruit in person. So yeah, that totally it took away all that momentum from a national championship season. But yes, this recruiting momentum will carry over from the offense into the 25 class, which is great. RPMJ asked, where can he buy a John Emery jersey? He wants to support him for NIL. I'm pretty sure if you go to the LSU Sports shop, which they have an online thing, you can make the jersey of the player or pick which one. And then that would, I mean, you're buying it through LSU, so some of that would go to Emory, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
So
it would.
if that's how you're trying to do it, that would be my suggestion. Rustin 97, will the national media start to admit in the next couple of weeks that it's Jayden as the obvious choice, or do you think they continue to try to make Nick's Penix happen? I know there's some national, people got mad at ESPN for a graphic or Fox where it didn't have Jayden on it. A lot of the national media I'm seeing are pushing for Jayden to be in this conversation.
I agree. Yeah, I mean this isn't the Knicks Penix thing. I think people are worried about the Vegas odds still, which is understandable. But that is more a projection of what if Knicks goes undefeated and has or Knicks wins out or if Penix wins out, they have a great chance because they're going to have the team success along with the individual success. At this moment, the national media is pushing Jayden Daniels coming off that game. It's plain and simple. So
100%.
it's not the Vegas odds is not the media making those odds. That is a projection from Vegas of what will happen in the next 3 weeks.
Tiger Band 83 said, look, he can get totally on board with having to play freshmen or transfers where you have depth issues and you get poor performance over, maybe half the year. But he said, what happens when you have a year like this, Matty B, where you don't see improvement week to week? And maybe one thing to be behind on depth, but isn't it another and maybe a far more concerning thing to not have development across the year? I think that's a fair question. I mean, like, they knew the hand they were dealt. They've been dealing with it all season, and it's not like we've ever seen them really clamp down. Like second half versus Missouri, the rest of these games are just against teams with bad offenses.
Yeah. So the question is it fair to
Well,
be concerned with the development on this team?
well, I think he's maybe pointing out like, hey, can we skip? Is it fair to skip past yeah, we have freshmen and transfers and not a lot of depth, and point out that even with that being the case, there hasn't been any difference across. Like, don't you eventually see some development in coaching that it becomes very evident from when you're watching them on Saturday, or does it just remain the same and it not be a coaching issue?
I don't know. I go back to how much. I mean, like variety wise in this defense, I just don't know how much they can run. Like in theory, to like really try out different things. And if you're running the same things with personnel that doesn't work, I don't know how much development you can get from Omar Spates and Greg Penn and Savion Jones and uh, Mason Smith and Major Burns and Andre Sam. Like I'm reading these names off. I don't expect them to improve individually at this point in their careers. So as a defense, you're kind of expecting. I guess you're expecting a coach to put them in better situations, but I don't think there's much you can do as a coach when you can't run nickel and dime like you said, and you can't really get pressure with four. I mean, there's too many questions here. I don't know what kind of improvement we want to see from guys that aren't freshmen and sophomores, and those guys don't play enough, really.
I
don't know if I answered
I
that
think it's
at
a fair
all.
question
I
to
don't know if I
ask.
answered that well at all, but
Yeah, I think it's a fair question. I think this defense is just such a blend of so many things that you can't put your finger on just one and really get a good feel for how much that outweighs the others or how much that plays into it. It's just a combination of bad very often, and we've seen it in a lot of games. So, look, we'll see roster-wise and coaching-wise what they have in a couple of weeks when really over the next month when guys decide to leave or sign with LSU and the coaching staff becomes solidified with whatever changes he wants to make, being Brian Kelly. Okay, we got a few more here. I'll try to roll through them. Russell DeBow, who manages transfer portal roster management stuff since Brian Polian moved on. Is that Frank and off-field staff? Some mix? Is it a GM role? Sorry if this is a recruiting pod question. He's just been curious. It's a good question. I think that's fair for this one.
it is.
Will Redmond is their director of player personnel, so he would help oversee stuff like roster management, transfer portal, but it would be like anything starting from the top with Brian Kelly. And Kelly talked about that today. I asked him about managing the portal this year, and he said, look, we've already got the strategy. We're going so heavy on high school and retaining players that we're only going to pick players out of the portal now that aren't so much depth pieces, but more if we lose a starter like a Malik Neighbors, I want another starter. You want a Keon Coleman, you want a Trey Harris, you want someone who comes in and isn't just like, oh, he's promising and we can develop him. No, that's what they want to do with high school guys. Portal he wants to use for, all right, do we need an immediate replacement at this position? Well, let's get somebody who's equally as good as that person, if not better. So I would say it's a staff effort from the top down.
Yeah. Also, shout out to Shay for by far the best question at the press conference. Thought that was a wonderful question. So, round of applause.
PK said that.
Yeah, he said good. He said good question, but I thought it was a great question. Great question, Shay.
I was just curious, man. Well, with all these firings, all of these kids already hitting the portal. That the portal window, if your head coach gets fired, your portal window opens immediately. So we've already seen A&M and Mississippi State guys hitting the portal with a couple firings, and keep an eye on what happens at Arkansas. It could be a wild couple months ahead on the coaching carousel in the SEC. Where are we at here? Tiger Rev, with firing season underway, your top 3 candidates for LSU new DC. Well, I'll save that for when they have to go find a new DC for me.
We can't give away a content pod on the content. That's going to be a whole podcast if that does happen.
He doesn't want to waste any more generational talent, he said. So he wants a DC. He's not believing in Matt House at the moment. So
there you go.
We shall see. Like I said, Kelly has said it. He has said after the regular season ends, I'll do a deep dive into my staff and I will address it all from there. So if something goes down, we will have a hot board right up and get after it from there. LSU Lawyer 24 is ESPN, CBS actively conspiring against JD5 Heisman with that 11 a.m. kickoff. No, I don't think so. The SEC sets all that with them, and the SEC would want Jayden to win the Heisman. I think Oregon plays at 11 a.m. too. Hey, maybe it gives people a chance to watch him first thing. Kicks off the day with Jayden putting up monster numbers, and then everyone talks about it the rest of the day instead of his game ending at 11 at night, and they're talking about it on SportsCenter at midnight or whatever.
Yeah.
He's talking about the Texas A&M game, obviously, being at 11 a.m.
I mean, the Iron Bowl is always going to be 2:30, and then I guess I don't know what the other options were. I guess you pick
like Georgia Tech might be on ABC that night.
Georgia Tech's on ABC. Florida State's on ESPN. I mean, would you rather have Florida State or LSU A&M? I'd probably go Florida
well,
State.
Or do you want to play at night on the SEC network or SEC Network Plus or some like? Hey, at least get on the Prime Network and get it at 11 a.m. And look, if they blow them out and he puts up monster numbers, then they're talking about him all day long on the final day of the regular season. That could set up well for him.
Honestly, the best game of the entire SEC slate is probably Louisville, Kentucky, and that is still TBD. So that is interesting to me.
Hanging it out there, the flex. He also asked about it. Look, we'll talk about all these LSU job openings once they happen. He was just questioning again for a top 3. I would have to dig. I wouldn't be able to sit here and give you 3 guys and just be like, oh, these guys are all going to be great. I'd want to dig into Like it'd be easy to be like, oh, go get Will Muschamp from Georgia. Like he's obviously been, a
It's
coordinator
just
before, and like
it's just
I'd
yeah.
want to
I mean,
dig any. I'd want to dig in.
it's just ideal. I mean, I don't know. Matt House, you look at his resume when they hired him. I mean, that's what you want, right? That's a guy who was leading a top 10 defense in the country for a couple years at Kentucky, and then went to the NFL, and the Chiefs won a Super Bowl. Like resume wise, you're not going to get much better than Matt House. That's what I'll say. I don't
Again,
think they
we'll
keep
see.
him, but we'll see.
Kelly will make this decision in a few weeks. We won't have to wait long to see what the future holds, if it's staying or going. Holy Bull, two more. How do you feel about Buddy Sanju? I think it was actually Scooter Hobbs, I'm pretty sure, asking Brian Kelly if Florida spied Daniels. Do you feel it was a load? Did you feel how loaded that question was? I thought it was great. So Holy Bull means, was it a loaded question? Like, why didn't you spy Milrow a week ago? I guess you could.
No, did you see the very beginning of the press conference with BK?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, where he goes, he just asked him, he's like, did Florida spy Jayden
Yeah,
Daniels?
that's
Or
what I'm
no.
talking about.
Oh, okay, I thought you brought up Milrow. I thought you were talking about the Alabama game.
No, but he said, did you feel how loaded that question was? Meaning, like, why didn't y'all? I don't. I think people thought it was like, why didn't y'all spy Milrow?
Holy Bull is killing us. I don't know.
But no, here's what was great about that. Scooter just said, did Florida use a spy tonight? And BK thought he meant like Connor Stallions. I could tell he meant like Michigan type
Oh.
spy, because BK answered. He just looked at me and goes, I have no clue. And then everybody was like, what do you mean you have no clue if they spied him or not? But I think Kelly, because he just goes, did they use a spy? And I think he immediately thought, like, are you mean
Oh,
like Connor? And
yeah.
he was just like,
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Sign stealing.
I don't know. It was almost Brian Kelly was like, did I miss something? I have no idea. But yeah, I think that he didn't realize what Scooter was asking. But
That was a
I
funny way
don't
to
know.
start
Did Florida
the press
spy
conference.
Daniels? If they did, they didn't do very well. And if they used a spy, they didn't do very well either. So
I should, yeah, I don't know. All right, last one.
last one, D Tiger. Right now, BK split the D line coaching into outside linebacker and DL, and the DB into cornerback and safety with potential changes next year. Do you think BK condenses any of these positions and instead hires a special teams coach? You could always do that. If you are condensing those positions, it's more popular to condense edge and D line. A lot of people now go cornerback and safety in separate rooms, especially when you've got nickels involved who are then practicing with safeties. So it's not a lot of people have just a straight up DB coach anymore. So I would say if they do condense a position down, it's usually D line and edge.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll just say, I mean, it's not really up to BK. It's whoever the defensive coordinator is next year, and how the scheme they run, and the emphasis they have. Obviously, in Matt House defense, the jack plays a significant role in a variety of different ways. So he wanted that. And obviously, if Harold Perkins is playing outside linebacker, then you really have a Jack and a Sam. So that makes the outside linebacker job very important. If you're running a 3-4 defense, then yeah, you have to have outside linebackers coaches. If you have the traditional whatever 3-3-5 or something, and you have 5 DBs on the field, then you probably need to split it up. But yeah, that's up to whoever the defense coordinator is next year.
We will see once the season ends what they do there. All right, we got through it. I was curious what after a big win, what the questions would be, and I was right on Jayden. I did not realize we were going to still get a million DC questions. Maybe that was probably the most DC questions we've gotten all year. And it was after a win, not even a loss.
It was a lot. It was a lot. It was a lot. But yeah, that's it. I think this might be the record right now. 1 minute or 1 hour and 9 minutes. I think. Oh
You
no, we
left it
did one.
open too long.
We might have did 1:15 at a point. It was not open that long. But yeah,
Well, they were eager. They were eager.
yeah. People.
All right.
Look,
Hey, look, shout out to everyone for asking questions, though. And we've had a ton of new people sign up for the Bengal Tiger and On3. It's $1, thebengaltiger.com. We've got recruiting stuff rolling every day. We've got team stuff rolling every day. Business is booming, Matty B. We've been having fun over there with the fam.
Yeah, I mean, like we talked about before, the mailbag is a prime example here. I left it open for like an hour and 15 minutes, and we got 40 replies or whatever it was. The message board has been going crazy. It's been awesome. The engagement's been very good. So thank you to all of you. Like Shay said, subscribe to the Bengal Tiger On3, $1 for the first month. So get you through football season and into almost all the way to early signing day, right? I mean,
Yeah, at this point, to early signing day.
almost.
So,
So yeah. Or when is early signing day? I thought it was like the 20th.
middle of December, right around
Okay.
now, a month
Yeah.
away.
So yeah, anyway, subscribe there. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. We appreciate everybody for watching and listening. And leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple and Spotify. Shout out to y'all as well. So we will be back. Shay and Billy will have their recruiting podcast as always. And yeah, we'll see. I'll be in Charleston covering the basketball team. See if they can get some wins.
Let's get it. Oh, and Matty B, I talked to Sheldon from The Advocate today. He will not be there. He'll be at the LSU game. So, Matty B, you may be the only LSU media in attendance.
We did it. There you go.
Repping it for the Bengal Tiger.
There you go. I'm just going to sit there with the microphone and just hold it and be like, all right, Matt. And we're just going to go through like 6 straight questions.
Oh, yeah. You're just going to be you and Matt McMahon afterwards, a one-on-one following
Matt
each
on Matt.
game.
Matt on Matt.
The Matt and Matt show heading to Charleston. What's the rundown on that for the basketball fans? How many games are they guaranteed?
Guaranteed 3. They'll play the first game Thursday afternoon. I believe it's at 2:30 against Dayton. Win or lose. We'll see. They play on Friday, but then on Friday, same thing in the afternoon. And then Saturday they have the day off, and Sunday is the last game. I won't be there on Sunday, but yeah, we'll see. It'll be fun. All right, let's wrap it up. Thank you all for joining us. We'll be back later in the week, and hope everybody has a great day.